Hey guys, we're Ali and Gary with Roll With Us DMs, professional game masters with over 17 years of experience that also love to go on some side quests with our friends, which you can see here on our channel.
Thank you for checking out our videos. If you haven't already, you should quest down to the subscription button and strike the notification bell so you never miss our content.
Our links are in the description below.
Consider becoming a channel member to access epic perks, including playing in one of our games. Now, on with the video! Hi everyone, welcome to my short rest today. I am going to be going over how to make a character for DC20. In my last short rest I talked about how I could spend an entire episode just on making a character in the character sheet. So I'm hoping that I can get some chat engagement as far as what you would like me to build, but in the meantime I'm just going to start building. So the first step of character creation is attributes in the prime modifier. So the stock way to create a character is with standard array, where you start with an array of these stats, 3, 1, 0, and -2. So what we're going to do is put those numbers into the 4 attributes for DC20. There's 2 physical stats, might, which from Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder is equivalent to strength, with a little bit of constitution mixed in. And then agility, which is pretty much dexterity for context. And then the mental stats are charisma and intelligence. Intelligence combines wisdom and what you would think of as intelligence into one stat. So I'm going to build something a little bit different than you would typically think. I'm going to build an intelligence-based monk, so we're going to put our 3 into intelligence. It's going to be the highest modifier possible at level 1. From the context of D&D or Pathfinder, Pathfinder before the remaster when they still used ability scores, +3 would be the same as having a 16 in a stat. I don't think I want him to be terrible at agility, so I'm going to put the +1 into agility. I think we will make him not very strong, and we'll put the -2 into might, and we'll put the 0 into charisma. And then once you have those put into their spots, you get to add 2 +1s. Trying to see where that is in here. Anyway, you do get to add 2 +1s to any of your skills, so, or any of your attributes. So let's say I don't really want to have a negative might, not that much, so I'll put 1 +1 there and make that a -1. And then our agility, you know what, I'm going to leave the agility at 1, and I'm going to put a +1 into charisma, so that we are solidly a mental-based monk as far as charisma and intelligence. The next step is save masteries. So you pick, oh, I'm sorry, the prime modifier is equal to your PC's highest attribute. And at level 1, the highest attribute that you can have is 3, so our prime modifier is going to be 3. That does really cool things that I'll show later when we do the monk, when we get to like class features of the monk, and how you can have a low agility and still be a very good monk. So we do get to pick 2 saves that we want to have mastery in. Mastery is going to give us a bonus equal to half our level to that saving throw, and half of 1 is half, and in DC20 you always round up, so half rounded up is going to be 1. So essentially, whatever saving throws we want to put mastery in, we're going to get an additional +1 to. So I think we'll put our save in a might, because that will help boost our ability to make our saving throws for might, since we have that -1 and we're going to get a +1, and it will balance out to a 0. So we'll put a 0 in here. And then let's pick agility, because we don't really have a high agility ability score. But if we put our mastery in agility, we get a +1, so it'll be 2. And then we'll be competent in making those agility saving throws. And being a monk, that kind of feels good. Then we get to pick 5 skills, plus our intelligence modifier. So with an intelligence modifier of +3, we get to pick 8 skills that we want to have mastery in. I'm going to pick awareness, which is pretty much perception. I don't feel like we're very... You know what? I am going to pick athletics, because even though we're not strong, I feel like we are probably athletic. So that's going to, again, offset that minus a little bit. I'm going to choose acrobatics. It feels right for a monk. And stealth kind of feels right maybe for a monk. Insight, being able to tell if people are lying or that kind of thing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills. We have 3 more to pick. I kind of like medicine for using first aid kits to heal people, or just having knowledge of medicinal things. Let's say survival. And then if you put 1 point, it says here 1 skill point equals 2 knowledge points. So if we spend 1 of the skill points down here on one of these knowledge skills, we get 1 more bonus point to put into another knowledge skill. So being a monk, I'm going to say the most relevant of these are probably history and religion. So this is just a double check. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with awareness. Right. I didn't explain this part here. So our charisma save is 1. So we're going to just put a 1 because we don't have mastery. Intelligence is 3, and we don't have mastery, so that's going to get a 3. And then we go in and fill in our skill modifiers. So DC20 uses a system that's kind of similar to how Pathfinder 2nd Edition handles proficiency, in that you have different levels of proficiency: novice, adept, expert, master, grandmaster, granting +2, +4, +6, +8, and plus 10. And the big difference between this and Pathfinder is that you do not add your level when you're proficient in something. It's just these bonuses, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So anything that we're a novice in, which are all the boxes that we checked, we'll add plus 2. And then also the number for the main modifier, which will give us our total modifier. So in this case, it's another neat thing I want to point out with the sheet is the skills they're like put underneath, organized underneath the stat that governs it. So you're not like jumping around the sheet trying to find, okay, what ability score do I use to figure out my acrobatics? It's underneath agility. It's an agility skill. So in this case, awareness, which is like your perception skill, is based on your prime modifier, which is your highest stat, and that will be plus 5 because we have novice level mastery with it. The interesting thing about moving awareness under the prime number is just how the prime modifier works, which I had mentioned in the last video. But essentially what the prime modifier does is it allows you to be good at being an adventurer, so that you don't have to put your stats into the things that you're feeling dictated that you have to put them into. So, for example, a paladin in 5th edition, or probably also Pathfinder, would feel they have to put their ability scores into strength, charisma, because that's what a paladin needs in order to be effective. If you're a cleric, you feel like you need to put your ability scores into wisdom because that's what you need to be effective. If those games use this prime attribute score, just like this does in DC20, then you could have a cleric that doesn't have a high wisdom but is still an effective cleric because all of their cleric features are based on this prime number instead of an arbitrary stat. So I think this is one of the most brilliant things with the system. So we just continue down the sheet. Might governs athletics. We have a -1. We get a +2 from being a novice. We get +1. Our intimidation, we are not mastery, so we get just our might ability, which is -1. I have a question in the chat from Allie. She has asked, does the prime number go up with level? And I see that the chat is actually there now. Okay, I guess it's because nobody had said anything. Yes, the prime ability is capped at 3 because 3 is the highest ability score that you can have at level 1, and that cap opens up at level 5 when you can increase it to +4 or a 4, which would be the equivalent in D&D of having an 18 in a stat. Or in Pathfinder, also, like before the remaster, having an 18. So interestingly, in Pathfinder 2nd edition, you're limited to not reaching a 20 in your primary stat until level 10 anyway. So this is very similar in that regard. Because at level 10, the cap goes to a +5 for your highest stat, so you're very much in line with Pathfinder 2nd edition in that regard. Allie had a question. Do you have to put that one into your prime stat? Have to put that one... can you clarify your question? I'm sorry. I'm going to continue, and if you clarify, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Okay, actually, maybe I do understand. If the question is, like, when you reach level 5, do you have to put your ability score increase into your highest stat? And the answer would be no. You don't have to. But once that cap is unlocked, you would kind of be penalized for uh, putting not getting a +4 in that stat. Although, again, I have to stress that the game is in alpha, so things are subject to change. But there is currently an alternate rule where instead of having the prime modifier being your highest ability score, your prime ability score is whatever the max would be. So from levels 1 through 4, your prime ability, your prime number is 3, even if you don't have a 3 in anything. And when you reach level 5, from 5 to 9, it would automatically be a 4, regardless of if you have a 4 in a stat or not. That might be the better answer, honestly, and it might be what the game goes with all told, because it touts flexibility over being arbitrarily forced into decisions. And I feel like everything that I've seen says that if you wanted to play an average character with like ones and twos and everything and never getting to threes and fours, that you could do that and your prime number would still make you a competent character of whatever class you are. And I think the really important thing with putting awareness under prime is the fact that awareness, just like perception in 5th edition, is kind of a god stat in that, like, you use it so much all the time, and it's the reason that Pathfinder 2nd edition moved perception away from being a skill that you could boost on your own, and instead it's tied to your class progression, and different classes increase their perception at different levels in Pathfinder. I think this is fine because it's tied to the prime number. Everybody should probably have the same prime number, so nobody's going to feel bad about having a worse awareness unless they don't put skill mastery in it, or eventually put skill mastery in it. But at the same time, I feel like if you don't want to have the skill mastery for whatever reason, maybe you're playing a character that's not very aware, you shouldn't be penalized and forced to do that. So, continuing down the sheet, I'll just keep looking for more questions in the chat. We're going to have a +2 to acrobatics, plus our 1 is +3. Trickery is just going to be our +1. Stealth is going to be, again, +3, the 1 +2 for combat mastery. Animal, it's kind of like animal handling, animal interaction is going to be 1. Influence is going to be 1 because, again, we don't have mastery. Insight is going to be +3 because we do have insight. Investigation is going to be +3. No mastery. Medicine is going to be +5 because we have mastery. Survival +5 because we have mastery. So it's the 3 for intelligence plus our mastery. Arcana is an intelligence-based skill, so it's going to work off of our intelligence modifier, which is +3. But we do have mastery in history, so that's going to be a +5. Nature +3. Occultism +3. Religion is going to be +5. Alright, so we've done step 2. Step 3 is to add skills, trades, and languages. So we get... we already did the skills. It was 5 skill points. And we also get points equal to our intelligence modifier. I think that's an update since this alpha came out, which is probably why it's not here. You get 3 trade points and 2 language points. So what I've been doing with the pre-gen characters that I've been making is to pick a language. I believe everybody knows Common, and then in this case, like, let's say we want to speak Dwarven. And then we can choose, you know what, I'm going to pick all the languages now. Elvish and Gnomish. So we have the language of dwarves, the language of elves, and the language of gnomes. The really cool thing is that you can have 2 different levels of mastery with a language. You can be fluent in it, and you can speak it as good as any other language. You can have a limited knowledge, and then you need to make an ability check to see if you understand what's being said, or if you're trying to read something in that language. So it would be similar to, say, me with Spanish. I would have a limited knowledge of Spanish with fluency in English. Imagine that. So I'm having this stream in English. But I can speak a little bit of Spanish. If somebody was having a conversation, I might be able to pick out a couple words, but I'm not going to completely comprehend everything that's being said. So in this case, we get 2 points for language. I'm going to put 2 of them into Dwarven. So we have fluency with Dwarven. And I'm going to give up one of the trade points, just like we could give up a skill point to gain 2 knowledge points. I'm going to use one of those trade points to give myself limited fluency in Elvish and Gnomish. And then I have 2 trade points left. So I'm going to give myself mastery in 2 trades. I'm going to choose... I did not pick this ahead of time, so just give me 1 sec. I'm going to choose Tinkering and Theater. Tinkering and Theater. Tinkering uses agility, so I'm going to use my agility modifier, which is... Oh, actually, it can also use intelligence. So I'm going to use that +3, +2 for having the mastery, and that's going to be +5. And then Theater is going to use either agility or charisma. They're both the same, so that's going to be 1 plus my mastery, which is going to give me a 3. I think that the trades are more for flavor, but sometimes they can have useful abilities beyond just flavor. Tinkering, for example, talks about making traps and making other things. Oh, here it is. Skills, yeah. Starting skill points, 5+ intelligence modifier. Health points are next. So, the health is figured out with the formula 5 plus 2 times your character level plus might. I know that's changing. For level 1 it's very similar. I don't know the exact change. I believe it's 6 plus your level plus your might. So at level 1, you're getting to start at 6 instead of 5, plus your character level brings you to 6, or brings you to 7, so that's the same, but then going forward, you'd only be getting 1 hit point per level instead of 2. So anyway, we're going to tally that up. We have 5 plus 2 times our level is 7, plus our might is -1, so that is going to give us currently starting hit points of 6, with a max of 6. Okay, next up is stamina and mana points. So, because we are playing a martial, we have no mana points. And I know that martials get 1 stamina point to start with. Question in the chat. Is your AC based on your level like in Pathfinder? Sort of, but it's a very marginal difference. Because your AC is usually based on a formula that includes your combat mastery. So 2 different types of mastery. There's skill mastery, which is your novice, adept, expert, master, grandmaster for your skills, and for your skills, and then your trades and your languages. Well, not your languages, skills and trades. And then there's your combat mastery, which is half your level. So you do add, in most cases, your combat mastery, which is half your level, or for levels 1 and 2 is a +1 to your armor class. When you get to level 3, you would, half of 3 is 1.5, which rounds up to 2. So at that point, you would get another point to your armor class. But it's not nearly as big of a range as like Pathfinder. So, for example, if you were level 10, you would have +5 to your armor class from your level, versus a level 1 character only having +1. But the range is much smaller. Next thing is defense. So I feel like I need to do a couple things before I can continue. The first thing is pick an ancestry. So this has ancestry at step 8. I could pull it up and show you step 8 ancestry. But the reason that I want to do ancestry now actually is because I want to choose human. And when you choose human, a couple things happen. You get, let me see if I can find the page that's on, and then I can pull it up for you guys to see. It is on page 103. Alright, 103. So, as you can see here, humans get a couple things. Let me explain a little bit more with the ancestries. If you want to play human, or any ancestry for that case, for that matter, they all have default traits. So if you wanted to play a stock human, you could just take these things: ability, attribute increase, resilience, human resolve, and undying, and you will have a human. If you wanted, though, you could swap out any of these. Say human resolve, you could swap it out for any of these expanded traits that cost 1. So like trade expertise, human determination, unbreakable. You could trade out human resolve for one of these. You could also trade out one of the things that are like 2 points, like the resilience or the attribute increase, and you could either take skill expertise, or you could trade it for 2 of the things that are 1 point. In the parentheses is the point value. Every ancestry has a 0 level thing that like can't be swapped out. Like that's their thing. and you can also take a negative, in this case attribute decrease. If you wanted to give yourself a -1, you would gain another point that you could add. So your ancestries usually give you 5 points worth of things. If you take negatives, you can gain like 6, 7, 8 points to your ancestry package. So far I've found it easier just to take the default. I did help somebody build a Beastborn, which was kind of more complicated, and for this I'm just going to take the default. So you choose an attribute, and the chosen attribute increases by 1. So going back to our character here, for being human, we get to increase one of our abilities by 1. So there's a lot of really cool options here. Like, we could be better at charisma, we could be better at agility. But you know what I think is probably best is actually just to wash out this -1 penalty. So we're going to make that 0 for might. By making that 0, we have mastery. That means that our save actually goes to +1. Because we don't have that negative anymore, the athletics goes to +2. Our intimidation goes to 0. So being human really helped us there. And then the other thing, of course, is now our might is 0. So instead of subtracting 1 from our starting hit points, we're actually going to get to start with 7 hit points. So go human, I guess. The next thing is resilience. We choose an attribute, and the chosen attribute gains save mastery. So humans get to be proficient or have mastery in 3 saves at level 1. So I think picking charisma probably makes the most sense here, because that will give us a +2. I didn't put the pluses, just put the numbers. So we'll go back and add those. Okay. So they've gotten another save proficiency. They've gotten another attribute point over everybody else. And then human resolve, your death's door threshold value expands by 1. So I'm going to go back to page 88. This undying thing is not going to come up in the character sheet. But one of the steps is, let's see. It's here. Your death threshold. It's in step 7. It would normally be -3, but because we're human, we're gonna get to expand that by 1. So we're gonna be dead at -4 instead of -3. So another nice benefit of being human. The way that works, I talked about it in the last video, but I guess I can re-hit that quick. In this game, if you reach 0 hit points, you are on death's door, is what the condition is called. You get a level of exhaustion, and you only get 1 action on your turn. And then if you ever get to negative your death's threshold, which is usually equal to your prime modifier, which is 3, until you get to level 5, and then it would be 4, the human is going to actually start at -4, and then that will of course go to -5 at level 5. So we've figured out the human aspect, but the other thing that I needed to talk about was the class, because monks have something called patient defense, which, let me find the monk, is on 124. So we'll go back to here at 124. So looking at the monk, they have patient defense. Let's see, maybe I will zoom in on this a little more. that's too far. Well, okay. So they have patient defense. Okay, yeah, that is too big. There we go. This is going... Okay, that's good, I think. Give them their special way to calculate their mental defense and their physical defense. Physical defense being their armor class, mental defense being their defense against, mental effects, usually stemming from spells, possibly from some abilities. So normally you would calculate your armor class, your physical defense, as 8 plus your combat mastery, so +1, so 9, plus your agility, and then plus whatever the bonus for the armor is. And then that just depends. There is an update to the armor coming. I just going to read it out of the alpha here. Is +1 for light armor and +2 for heavy armor. But the monk gets to calculate their armor class differently. So their calculation is 8 plus combat mastery, which is 9, and then plus their agility. Going back to our character, we have a 1, so that's going to be 10, plus prime, which is 3. So our defense without wearing any armor is going to be 13. The way you figure out your mental is usually 8 plus combat mastery, which is 1, which would make 9, plus charisma plus intelligence. The monk gets that exact same formula, but they also get to add their prime number. So again, just kind of showcasing how having that prime attribute really helps the character fill that fantasy that you want them to fill without having to put stats into specific spots to get that fantasy feel that you're looking for out of a monk. So the calculation for this character is 8, plus 1 for combat mastery is 9, plus charisma is 1, that's 10, plus intelligence, that's 3, is going to be 13, plus prime, we have a mental defense of 16. And then you fill in the heavy and brutal, so it's going to be 5 more than our physical defense for heavy, which is 18, and then 5 more than that, or 10 more than our armor class, which is going to be 23, and we have no physical damage reduction. Heavy armor would grant that. There are tweaks in the update for light armor to gain physical damage reduction, but I'm not clear on them, so I'm not going to go any more into depth on that. For our mental, a heavy hit would be 21, and a brutal hit would be 26, with no mind damage reduction. Okay, Allie has a question. Does armor give resistance to damage? Yes. Heavy armor, with the rules that I'm familiar with, grant it. And there is an updated armor package coming in the future that will offer damage reduction to light armor, though taking bonuses like kind of customizing your own light armor does come at some drawbacks, like not being able to add as much of your agility to your armor class, possibly even taking a negative to your armor class if your agility is not high enough, and giving yourself disadvantage on dexterity-based things like stealth, acrobatics, trickery. Alright, let's see. And again, just to point out from like people who are familiar with 5th edition, patient defense is a key ability in 5th edition. So same name, gives you a flavorful thing, just like you would expect from something with the name patient defense. But the really cool thing, and I pointed this out in the last short rest, is like, say, Step of the Wind. While you aren't wearing armor, you gain the following benefits. Your speed and jump distance increase by 1, which will be important. Let's actually do that. So your speed is normally 4, but for us it's going to be 5 because Monk's going to increase it by 1. And it said our jump distance is increased by 1. So our jump distance is equal normally to our agility, which is only 1. So we would normally have 1 square of jump distance. Monk would get it to 2. However, the really cool thing, and the reason that the prime attribute stands out so much, you can use your prime instead of agility to determine your jump distance and the damage you take from falling. So, because the system has this prime attribute baked into it, even without having a +3 to agility, which is what you would think a monk needs to have, you're still a really good monk. So instead of having a +1 for our jump distance, we get to use the +3 from our intelligence for our jump distance, which could be role-played that you like have the intelligence that you can calculate certain distances, like I need to like run this fast and jump at this point, and if I like move in a certain way, I can extend my jump a little bit further. Or you could just take it, you have the prime, you've got a 3. So anyway, using our prime instead, we would normally be able to jump 3 spaces, but we get to jump an additional space, so it's going to be 4. And I just think this is so cool that you can move a number of spaces up to your jump distance along vertical surfaces and across liquids without falling during your move. This takes 5th edition monks until 9th level to get, and you get it at level 1 as part of the aptly named Step of the Wind, taken from 5th edition, that name, and this is just elegant, I think. And it would let you move 4 squares across the liquid or 4 squares up a vertical surface. My phone is going to die soon. If it does, I am going to lose the chat, or at least mostly lose it, but I'm going to do the best that I can to get through this. Page 88 again. Oops. So we just need to fill in this stuff. Our attack spell check, it's our prime ability plus our combat mastery, which is 1, which is going to be +4. Everybody pretty much should have a +4 at level 1. Our spell save DC is 8 plus our combat mastery of 1 plus our prime, so 8 plus 4 essentially is 12. Our martial check is either athletics or acrobatics, whichever is higher, and then just whichever is higher. So our acrobatics is +3, so our martial check is +3. This would be if somebody's trying to grapple us, we would use our martial check to get out of it. And essentially having this, if you need to make a martial check for something, you don't have to try to figure out which is higher. You just have it here. You've already figured that out ahead of time. The next thing would be our rest points, which at level 1 is 1. Our grit points, which is equal to our charisma, which is 1, because our charisma is 1. Grit points are used to grant yourself or somebody that you can see advantage on a saving throw that they're going to make. And rest points is like hit dice. It's how you heal yourself when you're resting. Each rest point that you spend heals 2 hit points. And then if you were going to put in your attacks, a monk is going to probably be using unarmed strike. The damage is normally 1, but a monk gets to deal 2 damage, and it's bludgeoning. And beyond picking out inventory and typing in our features, we have our character. Player name, character name, but yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to making a character. Do I have any other questions in the chat? I'm not seeing any questions. I guess I can... I figure I could log into Roll20 and show you what I have built. Nope, good job. Thank you. Thank you. I have a little bit more time, like 10 minutes left on this short rest, so I want to go into my Roll20 game and just showcase what I've come up with. So one of the things that I have come up with is, let's see if I can, yeah. I use the green bar for the hit points of the character. I use the blue bar for the action points to track how many actions. Look forward to you getting this going on Start Playing. Yeah, I mean, I would love to. Very passionate about this game, as you know for sure, and I'm sure the audience does as well. But the 4 action points, since you can take actions outside of your turn, if you were to use, let's say, an action on a reaction, you could minus out one of your actions, and now you only have 3. And then let's say you take another reaction, you minus out another action, now you only have 2 left. When your turn comes around, you only have those 2 actions on that turn, and then at the end of your turn they reset back to 4. Very handy for keeping track of that. And since the game doesn't use spell slots, I use the red bar for either mana, in the case of Nimble here, or I used it for stamina in the case of Grognard here. So I have created my goblin stat block here. I've used like M for might, A for agility, C for charisma, I for intelligence, PD for physical defense, MD for mental defense, HP for its hit points. I kind of used the 5th edition goblin as a template, giving him a -1 might, a +3 agility, a -1 charisma, and a 0 for intelligence. His 12 physical defense is without using his shield. The 13 is if he has his shield. Combining his charisma and his intelligence, trying to figure out a mental defense, 7 made sense, starting at 8. And the dungeon coach's guidance on goblins, he said he likes to give them 5 hit points so that if somebody scores a really solid hit on them, they can kill them in 1 shot, which makes the players feel great. But otherwise it takes like 2 hits to kill them, because damage is also much lower in DC20. A skills breakdown, just like you would see in 5th edition. So I gave them pretty much right out of the 5th edition monster manual, +5 stealth, dark vision 12, because DC20 uses squares instead of feet, so 12 squares is the 60 feet of dark vision that they would normally have. The languages of common and goblin, just like they have. The 50 XP out of the player's handbook, because the guidance that I've seen is that you level the same as in 5th edition. And then equipment, scimitar, shortbow, light novice armor. Originally I had put leather armor in here, but that's not how DC20 uses their armor. It's light armor or heavy armor, and then you kind of flavor it however. And then there's, just like the skills, novice, adept, expert, master, and grandmaster for how good the armor is. And I felt like because they want to be using a bow and stuff, that a buckler made more sense, which is why I only gave them +1 armor class instead of +2. It also seemed more fitting to have a lower armor class for your stock goblin. Filling in this, the scimitar is +4 to hit, 2 damage, no range, short bow, +4 to hit, 2 damage. And again, it's kind of weird seeing the range increments in 1664, but that is calculated from feet to squares. And then I have a spot for special abilities in this case. Nimble Escape. They can spend 1 action point to get full disengage or hide. Normally, full disengage would cost 2 actions. Really, hide is only 1 action, so I probably, to clean it up, I would take out hide now that I'm looking at it. In fact, let me do that. You know, in 5th edition, them being able to hide as a bonus action is important. In this, it's less important because you have 4 actions. So, but gaining full disengage for 1 action still seems substantial. So, I am going to keep that. And I've started making a couple monsters. I want to try to run at least the beginning of Lost Mines of Phandelver with DC20 instead of 5th edition. One interesting thing is that these stat blocks are all handouts, so I also needed to make tokens that I could drag out onto the field. And again, they come with their hit points, their action points, and their name. And here's what my blank looks like. Pretty much, you know, template. I can go ahead and fill that in when I need a monster. And then I have like a blank character sheet that can be filled in. Player name, character name, ancestry, so on and so forth. The ability score, saves, proficiency level for the skills. One of my players was amazing and helped me get the color highlights in here so that they stand out better what they go to. Anyway, pretty much just takes the character sheet and splits it out into something that can be used effectively in Roll20. Trades and whatever the proficiency level for the trades are, and then a total. Languages, are you limited or fluent? Stamina, hit points, temp hit points, your armor class and your mental defense, so physical defense, mental defense. You got all this pretty basic information like attack, spell check, save DC, all that stuff that we filled in, that's all here. And then your attacks, and then you could put whatever else you needed to underneath. And just as an example, I made this monk earlier, so you could see what it looks like when it's filled in. An X to show the masteries. And since the character sheets don't link for people who use Roll20, what I've been doing is just using the dice roller over here. So like I want to do a thing, I roll D20, I look at the result, it is 20, I crit on that roll, nice. So then I would just take that 20 and add it to whatever the check was that I was trying to make. So it's almost like just playing at a table, but this lets people have a character sheet that they can fill in and mess with within the virtual tabletop. I gave him Tinkering and Brewing with Novice Experience. There's his bonuses. The language is pretty much the same as what I built for this. Stamina, hit points, his physical defense, is going to be a little bit different because the stats that I built for this guy were different than the ones that we built for the guy that we just did. Here's his, like, all his things. Attack spell check, save DC, martial check, death threshold, move speed, jump distance, rest points, grit points. His unarmed strike for 2 damage of bludgeoning, and I put in here a note about no multi-check penalty for flurry of blows feature, and then his other abilities. I didn't really spell them out, but anyway, that is what a complete character sheet that I've created for Roll20 looks like. And with that, my hour is up, so it's time to get back to that adventuring day. I hope wherever you are, you're having a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content that you just saw, consider joining one of our games at startplaying.gaming/rollwithusdms.